Good evening, everyone. Masal khair. How are you? Hello from Jerusalem, from Station J. Today is our 4th online JHF Talk. Let's give you a little bit of a recap about JHF. So the Jerusalem High Tech Forum is a Palestinian community-based grassroots organization that contributes to the development of a sustainable knowledge-based economy in Jerusalem and is focused on empowering technology entrepreneurship by engaging students, professionals, industry experts through the programs and activities that we offer. JHF is also on a mission to grow, nurture, and support the development of a collaborative Palestinian high-tech and entrepreneurial professional community in Jerusalem. This is done beyond the academia through raising awareness and knowledge regarding the global challenges and markets, and to create linkages between the regional and international communities and leaders in order to increase exposure and offer examples and role models to actually inspire as well as provide the space for knowledge transfer in those highly collaborative environments. Now, these will serve the goal of accessing the high-tech sector and build a tech community that can face the world digital transformation in order for a better future for our community. So after giving that introduction about JHF and the recap, I would like to welcome you all again to this online event. And we could now discuss in more detail about the objectives with my colleague Iyad. Over to you, Iyad.
Thank you, Dima. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Jerusalem High Tech Forum meeting. We are going to talk tonight about the emerging new jobs opportunities post-COVID-19 crisis, with the question how to access the jobs in demand in the high-tech industry. We have a large group of participants, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. Thank you all. I'm Iyad Al-Araj, a board member of the Jerusalem High Tech Forum. I'm not a tech person, but I'm someone who is extremely passionate about the tech and innovation. My role at Jerusalem High Tech Forum is to provide strategic support, including networking and resource mobilization. Our goal for this meeting is to contribute to the ICT market development and promote local economic growth. Therefore, Jerusalem High Tech Forum focusing on a few objectives for this session. And first and foremost, we are promoting Palestinian youth access to the external ICT job markets, outsourcing, business to business, or through direct remote employment. Second is to equip youth with the knowledge about the new ICT trends, needed qualification and the skills to access jobs in external markets. And lastly, we as Jerusalem High Tech Forum promoting Palestine as an attractive outsourcing destination. Our partner for tonight is Accendo Group. The speakers will be focusing tonight on the following topics, 3 or 4 topics mainly, with the question, what talent management trends and opportunities do we see locally and globally? As a result of COVID-19, what are the high demand jobs and talent requisition in the high-tech sector? And third, about the modalities of work across all industry, with the question, what work practices are changing as a result of this global crisis? And lastly, what are some best practices for career search? Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce the speakers, which are from Accendo Group, a French-based recruitment, hiring, and talent acquisition company. We have tonight with us Bhupinder KUNWAR, partner in Accendo Group, a senior director at Conver Consultancy, a consultant and inflow. Also, we have Tim Biscaye, founder partner at Accendo Group, managing director, job opportunity, IT. Also a consultant and inflow. And also we have a guest speaker, who is not talking tonight, but he's with us as part of the group, part of Accendo Group. His name is Chris SIMANDL, partner and transformational consultant at Accendo Group, co-founder at InfloLook. It's worth to mention that Chris joined Tim at a French recruitment firm last November and is a partner in Accendo Group. I'm not going through much of the details about the speakers. I would leave it to the speakers to tell us more about themselves. Over to you, Accendo Group. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for the introduction, Iyad. That was very kind of you. So, hello, everybody. And this is, my name is Bhupinder, and my colleague here, Tim Biscaye. And we have another colleague of ours. He's also online. His name is Chris SIMANDL. He's also online. So, over to you, Tim.
Okay. Good evening to each one of you, and thank you for taking time from your evening to join in this exchange. We look forward to your questions, to your inquiries, and having a good amount of time to go back and forth. One second, it's not. Go share from yours. We're having a technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Okay, there it started. Okay. There's a bit of a delay. So Accendo Group is more than a talent management company. We are a global software solution, services, and consulting firm. And secondly, we have an offering of the full cycle of talent management services. So we'll just show you again. These are the photos, the images of the three partners in Accendo Group. We met each other here in the south of France in the last 12 months. Both Chris and myself are originally from New York. Both Chris and myself independently moved to France in 1989. We never met each other previously. I'll say a little bit more about myself. Bhupinder, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, so I came to France about over a year back. I have about 30 years of experience in the IT industry, beginning with ANZ Bank. That's where I started my career, passing out from the Bangalore University in India and moved over to Australia, stayed there for several years, worked at the bank, and then moved to US, working for Microsoft. From Seattle, moved over to San Francisco, San Jose to be precise, working for a company called Tavan Technologies, back to India with Tavan Technologies. So overall, 30 years of experience, predominantly on software development, application development, services, and solutions. I have published over the years 2 books, technical books, and have also written chapters on PMI, which is Project Management Institution, where people go and take certification, which is called PMP. And I'm here in France, as I said, for over a year here. My family's been living here for 8 years, and I met both of them about a year back, and we started this company.
One thing we would like to tell you from the beginning is please connect with us. Any participant is invited to connect with us on LinkedIn. Send us an invite, and we'd be delighted to expand our networks to include you. And we see that as a vital part of accessing a global IT workforce. I am originally from New York. I moved to France 30 years ago. I've worked across Africa, the Middle East, Asia, up until 2018. I had the good fortune of meeting Iyad in Tunisia when we worked in an organization between 2017 and 2018. I have been to your country. I've been to Palestine for work. I've worked across the Middle East. I've worked across the Maghreb. I've worked in multiple sectors. At one point, I worked for one of Israel's major tech companies, Nice Systems, as part of their America's HR division. I have a long history in HR, leadership, and in operational management. I've been the director of Job Opportunité, which is a French IT recruitment firm. And in the midst of doing that, we saw an opportunity to expand our services, and we expanded Accendo Group from its previous consulting focus to include IT software solutions and services. So this evening, we'd like to talk to you about talent management trends. I'll define that in the next slide. And the opportunities that we see both globally and locally. So we will speak from a European perspective on the tech market and from a French market. We are all learning about the Palestinian-Israeli tech sector and the challenges and opportunities that are there. We also will speak, as we are learning, because all of us, each of you, are learning what are the consequences of COVID-19. I should have said that in English, sorry. COVID-19. And what are the high demand jobs that we see? And what are the changes to talent requirements in our sector? We'll also discuss how work practices are changing as a result of this global crisis. And then lastly, we'll give a few pointers from our years in leading organizations and our years as high-tech recruiters and leadership search executives. I won't read everything on the screen. You'll see images, we'll leave those to you to read. But we want to start with two disclaimers because we are just humans and we have our subjective perspectives on the global and local markets. Number one, we believe that in each of our lives, professional success is more than just an accumulation of skills and knowledge. We believe it's an issue of our hearts and of our attitude and of perseverance. We also, as three senior leaders, have also gone through the various pains of job search as we've moved around the globe and as we've changed sectors and changed jobs. And having lived those experiences in our own pasts, it makes our heart more open to the many, many candidates that we see every day in our recruitment and business activities. I want to quickly, this may be basic information for some of you, but when I use a term, I like to define it. When I use talent management, I'm referring to the cycles in people management that include the acquisition of talent, which starts with workforce planning, the sourcing for those planned open opportunities, the selection of candidates, the actual recruitment, and I see I wrote that in French, my apologies for the mistake. The integration of the selected individual, the onboarding into the company. It also includes the management and retention of staff, including people development, learning and training, performance management, both individual and team, coaching and mentoring, leadership development, succession planning, and in all companies, there are times where you are required to let go people. And that leaves the opportunity for another moment of career transition. So some of the trends, some of the opportunities, when we are speaking locally, and we are speaking specifically to what we're seeing right now since March in France and in Europe. Because of COVID-19, all our companies were required by the French government to favor remote working, and if presence was not required on critical businesses such as hospitals, food supply, and some manufacturing, everybody was required to work from home. There was also a fairly big movement because of French government support to companies going through difficulty for decreased work schedules. We have noticed a significant increase in contract-based work. However, that would not say, and that would not be a fair assessment of the whole market. In the south of France, the biggest companies that are here, as in all big companies, have significant numbers of consultants. And in some of our largest clients, everyone who was on a consulting agreement or on a contract-based assignment, large percentages of those individuals were let go because there was such significant downturn in work activity. The French government, as well as other European governments, in order to not lay off individuals, encouraged it's hard for me to say it in English because I'm always thinking in French, partial work assignments. So in the company, the image you see to the right, which I've been directing, all employees are only allowed to work 40% of the time, which means other than a normal 8-hour work day, they are working 3 hours a day or various adjustments of that. And then because schools were shut all the way till the middle of June, mothers and fathers who had to care for their children and had to provide in-home at-distance learning for their children's education, we also had to make significant adjustments to accommodate the whole person, the family aspect to employees' work. We've also been seeing a move toward more outsourced consultants, and there is a definite generalized movement to requiring more seniority. Last year, for example, of the 90 placements we made to our clients across the IT and innovation sectors, I would say 50% of the engineers and IT experts had less than 3 to 5 years experience. Since COVID started, there's a definite movement increasing the years of experiences that are wanted by employers. Some of the challenges. In our company, we noted a 70% drop in active recruitment projects from the month of February to the month of April and May. And that has been ongoing. Our recruitment projects are still just moving quite slowly as European employers are not certain what further government measures will occur, what further government assistance may be provided. And so there's a bit of tentativeness on the behalf of hiring, coming from hiring managers. I mentioned this just above. We're noticing very specifically increase in the technical requirements and the numbers of years of experience. And because of the slow down in economic activity, we've also noticed that the recruitment hiring process has slowed. I use the word here that as an outside provider trying to help clients hire the best staff, the best engineers, at times we just want them to say yes. Yes, they're going to bring the person on board.
Okay, so I'll just run you through this slide. This is basically a slide from McKinsey and Company. It's talking about how the trends have changed post-COVID. There's a phase which was before the COVID, the conventional method of how the industry was working, and then the COVID happened, and post that, what were the changes? And if you look at it, this graph, because this is the basis on which the industry is planning to move, operate, and look at and say that, hey, what we notice here is that there are 18% new brands have actually come up during this period of COVID. There are 14% increase in the new websites that have started during this period. The grocery stores are going online. And if the first one where you see the blue dots is the number of people going online to the stores. And that on the right is a decrease in the number of people who are going actually physically to the stores. The third one is the intent for the time that they would spend, increase or decrease on retail online, grocery stores, retail stores, domestic travels, and the various other entertainment events that people would like to go to. So this is just a trend that we've seen, that during COVID, this is what's going to happen with what has happened. And post-COVID, the intent of them continuing to operate on going online rather than going physically is going to be the trend. Now, based on this data is how the industry, IT industry, has moved. So we're going to go to the next slide. Yeah. So as COVID has happened, the trends in technology hasn't changed. It's only the domains have changed. The technology is not going to change. It's not that because Java was being used to develop something new has started to come up. No, the technology is going to remain. The coding language is still going to remain your Java, PHP, or Python, and various other languages that you may know. The only change would be the way this industry is going to operate now. It's not the technology per se. So the technology is now going to change the way people are going to work. One of them, which is the foremost, is the telehealth. It's already been there. It was already there in some of the poor countries where people could not afford medical health benefits and doctors being able to reach there and give them prescription on one-to-one. So telehealth has always been there, but now it's become a major, major industry. During this COVID and post-COVID, it's going to stay. So that's one domain area. Now we're talking about domain. I'm still not getting into the technology, right? The next one is the remote learning. Now remote learning, if you have noticed, as Tim also mentioned, that students and children are going to stay at home, and they've been doing learning, remote learning, where colleges, institutions, universities have been teaching candidates and students from remotely. Now, we never faced these kinds of situations ever before. No one had these kind of, never faced these kind of situations where people had to work from home, study from home, give homeworks, give tests. So they're working out various ways and methods how to actually truly assess and actually teach and train students. Right now, it's just, a trial method. It's hit and trial method, we call it. We really do not know the efficacy of remote learning. We really do not know. And this we will see in years to come, the next generations, if they're still learning online, how good they really are going to be practically. Because it's difficult it's like saying, I'm going to teach you swimming remotely, and we will do it online. And we'll tell you how to do freestyle, backstroke, or butterfly stroke. It's just by learning, right? It's not going to happen. And that's why I said that in times to come, we will see how this generation now copes up with very little practical stuff. But remote learning right now is still in its infancy stage. And it's an area where a lot of invention needs to come up. That's the area you should be focusing on. Then comes going virtual. Now, the conferences and the meetings is a billion-dollar industry, where people would travel, have conferences in exotic locations. It's a billion-dollar industry. That's been shut down totally shut down. We are having meetings, all meetings are virtual. Not that it was not there before. Even before they were there, most of the software development were happening over, we had WebEx, we had Skype, we had Teams, on which people would interact with each other. The user and the software developer would talk to each other because they were located, geographically located apart. But now with this situation, it's going to become more and more interesting because people are now not going to go to conferences. If you read the newspapers today, lots of conferences have been canceled, lots of them. But there are certain conferences which are very essential, and they still need to happen. And this will happen only online. Thanks. So where does this entire load go to? When we say everything is going to be online, we are talking about telehealth, which is online. We're talking remote learning, which is online. We're talking about going virtual, all these meetings. And all this load is going to be borne by the network, the internet, and the associated technologies with the internet. So network automation and development is going to be a key area. Now, this is where we're slowly coming down to technology. It was the domains, and now we slowly come to the technologies. Where is technology going to bear the brunt of these changes in the industry, in the world today, during COVID and post-COVID? And I'm just naming few industries I've named, and I'm sure all the industries are facing these challenges. And the brunt of that is going to come onto the technology. How is technology going to make most of this industry still profitable, manageable, and operatable? So network is going to be one of those. Security and governance specialization. This is going to be a key focus because now everybody is on the internet, everybody. Because of COVID, we are sitting at home, we are operating from home, we are doing a bank transaction, we are buying stuff, we are using credit cards, we are using various payment methods to purchase or do transactions. Security is going to become key because now, if you look at from a perspective of a hacker, hey, this is a good opportunity because now people who have never used internet are now going to start using internet. And the tech savviness of lots of people, and I would say the what we call as the knowledge in terms of how to use internet to do purchases online and how these scams happen, they are unaware of it. Most of them are unaware. They would have heard about it, but everyone feels, oh, it cannot happen to us. And with the growing amount of people now coming on internet to do these purchases and do businesses online, security is going to be key, a key area. Next one. Okay, as I said, I'll slowly start moving on to the technology. Here is the core coming now, the combination of DevOps and security operations. This is the fallout of what security I mentioned just before and the network automation development. Those two main areas, network automation, will fall on the DevOps, and the security, because the development which is being done for the network automation, the DevOps operations will have to be stronger. There'll be development, software development, core to the area of providing efficacy and efficiency to the business, and DevOps have to pull up their socks. The security operations have to pull up their socks, because people are now coming out with sites. Oh, you know, people are not coming home. Let me start an e-commerce. You start an e-commerce, but where is the security of that? How good is your site? Is someone can skim data from your site or take away all the information, crucial information? So DevOps and security ops is something that you should start looking at. And we will get into the technologies what are used for DevOps and security ops later. Next. Okay. Cloud optimization. So given all the situation, where are you going to host it? Everything is moving to cloud, everything. Companies which were operating where you went and met in the office, talked to people, to each other, had their internal systems or the internal servers, they are all slowly moving to cloud. And just moving to cloud is not going to be cheap. Moving to cloud is an expensive affair. So one part of the cloud is how do you take your existing system to the cloud? That's part one, where a lot of work is going to come. Your existing system to make it cloud ready. The second part to it is how do you optimize people who are already there in the cloud? Because earlier they had, let's say, X number of users on the cloud, but now it's 1000x or maybe 5000x of number of users which have come because of COVID. Everyone is online. And how do you optimize that cloud? Because cloud is expensive. It's not that cheap. The word is of course, is a very, very used word. Oh, let's do it on cloud. Let's move to cloud. But every hour, every day, there are charges for hosting your application. If you go to AWS, I'm only talking about AWS, which holds the largest share of the cloud. Next. Okay, so what are the high demand in technical jobs and changes to talent requirements post-COVID? So technology, COVID or no COVID, I like to make one statement very clear, and Tim had mentioned that earlier also. Technology, you may be very good at technology, you may be an expert in technology, but what takes you far and gets you a job or takes you to the higher ups in your career is your adaptability and flexibility. In my 30 years of career, I would have learned about close to 15 to 20 languages. Languages kept on becoming obsolete and new languages kept coming in. And we had to adapt quickly. Every time I would learn a language, some fresher, by fresher I meant a fresh graduate from college, would come out and would know as much as I would know, who would have 15 years or 20 years of experience at that point. Same experience, because a new technology has come up. Let's say Ruby on Rails. Someone just wrote Ruby on Rails. Ruby on Rails is high on demand. And I started just learning Ruby on Rails for a month or two. And here's a guy fresh out of college and he has Ruby on Rails. We are the same level together. But what do I bring in versus what does he bring in? It's just not the technology. And that's where the attitude comes up. Technology will keep changing. Technology will keep changing, always. So adaptability and flexibility to one. Now let's move on to the technology. What are the technologies that we are talking about here in the current scenario? So the current scenario, and please, this is what I would like to emphasize. This is just the current scenario, and probably may last for a year or maximum 2. I cannot even guarantee that, because you never know, something new might come up. But right now, these are the technologies that I would suggest we need to focus on: artificial intelligence, big data, Internet of Things, virtual reality, and augmented reality. When I say VR and AR, these are going to be key areas. I'm just going to throw some examples on where these things could be used. Imagine doctors, medical people who are still in their college, universities, and they have to practice how to operate on a patient sitting at home. How do they go to the lab to actually do operations? So there is an industry, there is a company which is actually doing this, which I was speaking to one of them, is they are having a VR and an AR model of a human being where they wear this goggles and they operate, and they have the same feel as if operating on a person. And they cut through the skin, the blood oozes out. They cut the epidermis and the different layers of the skin, and how do they go deep into it and see all the parts of the human body. It's as good as actually operating on a person. So VR and AR is going to be a key feature in a lot of these industries. Cloud computing, I've already mentioned to you why cloud is going to be a big player. Coming back to the big data. Data is the new oil. This is a cliched statement, but I think it holds more good, more value today. Data is the oil, is the crude oil today. If you have data, you need to know how to refine oil and take out different products out of it. You become a millionaire or a billionaire. Companies who have the data today, they know how to mine it and how to take an intelligent analysis out of that data. So big data is the key. So if you are going to get into big data, that I would say is one of the area where not only is there a scope, but there's a large, huge requirement. Everybody, every company, every second that we are talking right now, there's a whole lot of data being generated in terms of audio, video, images, and all other forms. In billions of gigabytes, this data is being generated. Someone needs to figure out, what do we do with this data? So big data is big time. Robotics, a little away from the software side, but robotics is going to be the next thing, as people cannot go to certain areas because of the COVID. So they are trying to automate those things by using robots. The next. Creativity and innovation. This is something that I have, when fresh graduates would come and join us at Microsoft or even the other organizations, I would always ask them that whatever you have studied is all very theoretical. And I would like to pose these questions to all those who are here today listening to this talk. If you know OOPS concepts, which is object-oriented programming, you would have learned about polymorphism. We all know what polymorphism is if you have learned polymorphism. I would like you to think, where can you use polymorphism in real life? Can you give me an example of polymorphism in real life, not on what was taught to you on the book? And that's how you understand technology, because once you understand technology, how it can be applied to real life, will you be able to create and innovate? Otherwise, you're just going to follow the book and use polymorphism as the code was written and given to you, memorize it, and you copy paste it there. Not going to help. You need to start thinking creatively. And about the example of the polymorphism, I would give you my email ID. Please shoot your examples to me. So focus on creative and innovation. As I said, the technology will keep changing. Technology will keep changing. It doesn't matter. But if you are creative and if you are innovative, that's the key. Data literacy is a subset of what I was talking about, big data. We need to understand what data is relevant and what data is junk data. That's what I call data literacy. Lots of people get into big data or have a lot of data, but the analysis that we do on the data is sometimes useless. I mean, it doesn't add value to just give certain analysis and reports, which is useless. And if you notice, a lot of companies, I don't want to generalize, but lots of time people just give useless data. They have gathered this. Oh, 90% of the people have 60% less hair on their head when they are post 50. Useless data, right? I mean, of course, it might be useful to someone who is into growing hair, but I'm saying the key to it is to get to the data which is useful. There's a lot of junk data, so the data literacy is very key.
Next one.
And this is the one, this is my key stuff which I would tell to each one of you. The moment you get into IT, this is what you should get it written on your wall, write it and see it every day. It is a commitment for a lifetime of learning. IT is not something that I've got into a job and that's about it. I'm finished. I just learned one language, I just learned a database, or I just learned one particular app or a system or an ERP system, and that's about it. No. The day you think that you have learned, the technology becomes obsolete in a matter of time. The day the technology becomes obsolete, you're obsolete. You can be replaced immediately as soon as the technology is replaced. So it's a lifetime learning and have a commitment to it. That's from my side.
Okay.
Next.
One sec. I was trying to answer a question from one of your facilitators.
Yeah.
This is you.
Yeah.
Still.
So these are. So I was emphasizing on the lifetime learning as a commitment, and one of the things that I've always told students is, all along, for right from your KG nursery when you join your kindergarten till you pass out your engineering or professional college or graduation you've always been taught by a teacher standing there with a blackboard at the back and teaching you. So for 14, 15 years or 16 years of your education, you have been programmed to be taught, someone to stand and teach you. We need to shift that from being taught to self-learning. That is the key, because post your graduation, no one is going to stand up and teach you or give you exams or tell you this is the test, you need to come and prepare for it. No. So you have to shift that. I understand it's a 16 years of hardcore programming of being taught, someone standing there and teaching you. That's why lots of people still believe I need to be taught, I need to go and attend classes. No, everything that you want to learn is available. Unless, as I gave you the example, that if you need to learn swimming, you really need to jump into the swimming pool. But otherwise, in technology, everything is available. Everything. It's there on the internet. It's there on the YouTube. It's there in the forums. And here are some of the online courses. I'll share this with all of you when we share this presentation. There's Coursera, there's edX, Udacity, FutureLearn, iVersity, and Harvard Business School also gives you the courses.
So quickly, some of the changes that we have seen to work practices since COVID here locally in Europe and in France. And we do want to point out one thing, is that a number of our clients who are global, often American originated companies, when I look online, I see that they have job opportunities in Israel. I see that they have job opportunities across the Middle East. So even though we are working here locally to the European and to the French markets, we also work with clients that have very active business presence and growing business presence across Africa and the Middle East. So here in France, prior to COVID-19, there was no acceptance, almost categorically, to télétravail. That means working with your telephone, working from home. That has changed dramatically. We used to always prep our candidates, don't ask about working from home, because at a maximum, big corporations may have allowed you to work 1 day from home. And that's big corporations. We're hiring right now for a simulation engineering company that works on crowd management and interpretation of data of large gatherings. The CEO of that company, there is no question, everybody has to be present. Everybody he's hiring, he wants the synergy of people still being together. But for many of the companies, to quote one that we were talking to late at the end of last week, you probably know them, Experian, in the financial services company. They still have no permission from their head office to have anyone in the office other than the most minimal security, cloud, and administrator positions. Everybody else is working from home. But what previously was not looked on positively is now the status quo. Bhupinder and I were working from my apartment. I have 2 other full offices. We just opened up an office this week, and because it's only the 3 of us, we actually are now going back to work, and we work side by side, sharing the same 40 square meters. One of the noted effects and an advantage, speaking to highly talented individuals outside of Europe, is we are seeing opportunities to bring in talent. In Accendo Group, we have been actively seeking new projects for only about 7 or 8 days. We have, I think Bhupinder counted this morning, we have 6 new active proposals going to projects with clients. And for a couple of them, there's lots of new jobs. And I was very surprised to hear that our major hiring director at a huge VR and AR company that has operations global, that they are telling us that we can bring in talent that do not have visas, because France is a very hard country to obtain a visa for. The most common manner for people from the Middle East or North Africa or Africa is to pursue a master's at one of the higher level French universities, and then to convert that into a doctorate, and then to pursue a job. Otherwise, France has pretty stringent visa regulations for incoming talent. I mentioned this earlier, I won't say it again. We're starting to see opportunities for flexible consultants, not only working for big services companies, but working individually. We're being asked, we got a request this morning via text from one of the CEOs. Last week we talked to him, or no, we had lunch with him 10 days ago. He was looking for us to do some talent work for him. This morning he's writing saying, Tim, we need to house out via you outsourced software development. So that's new. The opportunity of being able to be present. It takes a lot more time if you're a manager or a director to stay connected, because you're not just walking from one cubicle or one office to another. You're having to call people and hook online. So that is, it took more time. I noticed during the first, we were in quarantine for 12 weeks. My work hours went up dramatically. Supposedly I was supposed to work 3 or 4 hours a day, but in reality, as the director, I was working 10 and 12 hours a day just to stay connected with all of our employees. Well, you've all you're experiencing it right now. We're having the beauty of being able to speak with IT engineers and IT software developers, and you're in Jerusalem and we're here in the south of France, and we don't have to get on a plane. That makes me happy because I spent much of my 25 years working in 35 countries, always on planes going to meetings. And there's a change. Not all companies are adopting this, but smaller startups, small to mid-sized companies are adopting hiring practices using Team, using other video services. We also are noticing with our employers, our clients, that there's a greater sensitivity that people need work-life balance. People with young children, people with parents who are sick. There's an acknowledgement that there's a need for more flexibility. Quickly now, and I think we only have, if I can get my meter running, I know we're over time and we want to respect your time. We wanted to talk about best practices for career search. I'm a certified career search consultant and coach. I teach in 5th year grad school and provide career search coaching. But we're not going to be able to get to that this evening. So we can share the bullet points with you when we share the PowerPoint, but maybe we'll have an opportunity to delve more into this. So I'm going to go quickly. We might underline that when you're in a job search, and our colleague Chris was going to ask online to see how many of you, there's 33 participants, are active job seekers right now. That will help us during the question and answer period. But we need to all address what are the skill gaps and the needs of the hiring companies. It's not about us, it's about how do we meet the needs of hiring companies.
In regards to time, I'd just like to point out, you guys have like 10 more minutes, no worries.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You can cruise through.
Alhamdulillah. All right. I was trying to be very faithful to your previous instructions of 40 minutes. So this may sound basic, but too many of us, too many job seekers forget. You need to do your homework. You need to understand not only what is the job opportunity, but what is the company? What is their culture? What language? It's not whether you speak Hebrew or Arabic, but what types of words? What are the key words? How do they express themselves? What are the hiring companies? What are their objectives? And with the internet today, you can gain so much information on opportunities, because many jobs, and often some of the best jobs, aren't published. A year and a half ago, when I transitioned personally from being the deputy director for an organization where Iyad and I worked across the Middle East and North Africa, I decided I was tired of always being away from home. I was tired of never having coffee in the morning with my wife. And so I had to transition, and I'm an old guy. I don't know what I look like on the screen, but you see there's not much hair, and I'm old. I'm a recent grandfather, which is a wonderful blessing. But I had to transition to the French market. And every company I contacted, all they would tell me is you have too much experience and you cost too much. And even when I would say, I'll work for whatever the going rate is, they didn't believe me. So I got creative with the French hiring company, Job Opportunité, and I reached out to them I presented my background. They had an idea that they'd like to grow an international division. And so I started as a consultant, as a contracted consultant. I worked the first 6 months for them as a consultant on a consulting rate. I then converted into a full-time employment as a senior recruiter. I started building a team. That's where I brought my partner, my new company partners, Chris and Bhupinder, into the company. In very short order, I became the managing director. But I created the opportunity by looking and looking and looking and then opening the doors. So we're not going to talk about LinkedIn much tonight, but find ways to connect. If you're wanting to work for a specific company, start connecting with people who have similar positions in that company. Start reaching out with kind, open-ended invitations on LinkedIn to people. And you see it down there, and maybe Dima won't like this because she's in HR, but I have 25 years as an HR director, and my basic rule of thumb is avoid HR. Apologies. Smahili.
None taken.
So I think some of them were asking about why avoid HR, because HR is the first point of contact to look for a job. But what we're saying is, obviously in operational sense, yes, you will send your CV to HR, but in the overall gamut of the thing is, you need to understand, like Tim said, understand what the requirement is. Look what the company is doing, understand that. You will be interviewed by a technical person. HR person is only going to give you an offer letter or probably discuss your salary, but you will be selected by a technical person, interviewed by a technical person. And here I would like to emphasize, if you still have a time, do you still have time? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so here is a question two questions to highlight the importance of technology. One, if there is a problem, the first thing is to come out with a solution, which is your logic. Start thinking logically. The day you start coming up with a solution, that this is a logical way of coming to a solution, then how you write the code is very, very secondary. The logic is more important than the coding. If you can solve the problem with the logic, this is how we need to do it, this is how we need to do it, this is how we need to do it. The coding can be in any language. Point one. Point two, so it means language or technology is not important, but how you think. Read a book called Lateral Thinking by Edward de Bono, if you can. And the other one is How to Move Mount Fuji, which is the interviewing question of Microsoft. The second part to it is knowledge, skill, and attitude. Knowledge is what to do. Skill is how to do. Attitude is whether you want to do it. And that is the most important thing all the technical people or interviewers are looking at. You may know Java, you may know .NET, but there will always be a gap what you have versus what they need. And what they need to figure out in this interview is, how can you close this gap? How quickly can you close this gap? Is it something that you are a fast learner, you can pick up quickly? Have you exhibited or demonstrated in the past that you are able to pick up technologies, or you're able to analyze things very quickly? That is the key skill, just not the technology. We were given this question, one of you had asked that, unless I have an experience, I will not get a job. And unless I have a job, I will not get an experience. It's a catch-22 situation. Excellent. But nothing stops you from going online, creating your own stuff, and doing whatever you want to, because that is also experience. You don't need to have a job to get an experience. Nothing stops you from getting experience by working on your own, online, especially in IT. I can understand if it was in a mechanical or an electrical job, it's a little different. But in IT software, I think everything is available.
Thank you guys so much for that really enriching, beyond amazing lecture, to be honest. Let us give a little bit of time for questions now. I think there is 2 so far. One of the questions that we received from the participants is how to stand out as an applicant when you don't have previous experience in the same position, but have some previous relevant experience.
Yeah. So that's what I was answering, that you may not have the experience. There will always be a gap. Believe me, Dima, you have also been, you've been an HR person. There's never 100% match between what is required versus what the candidate has. There will always be a gap.
That's correct.
One is the experience. And even if you go a little further back, when students come out fresh out of college, what they've been taught versus where the industry is, there's a gap. There's a huge gap between where the industry is. It's moved on. The syllabus has not been updated. So this gap is always going to remain, whether you're fresh out of college or you have certain experience relevant to the job, but not the complete. The point is how well you can refresh yourself, read about it, and go and face the interview and say, look, I have read about it. I may not have practical experience, but I have practical experience, a little amount about it. But if you give me that opportunity, I will be able to do it, because in the past, I have done something similar. You need to give that, demonstrate and exhibit to them that I've done this in the past. I was given a job of, let's say, a system administrator. I was not a DevOps guy, but I can do DevOps because I do know a little bit of coding. I do know a little bit of shell scripting, but I have been a system administrator. So I can reach out or lean towards DevOps job. But that's about your convincing, and something that you need to read. It doesn't take long to actually just read and upskill yourself.
I totally agree with that. As an HR person myself, I totally agree with that. Okay, our second question is how to use the coronavirus crisis as an opportunity to integrate casual business entities with technology.
So, you know, because there are different kinds of businesses. Now, when you say businesses, it could be any kind of businesses. Technology is already there. So there are three aspects to it: communicate, commercialize, and collaborate. Now, this is what is required today to get your business going. The technologies are already existing there. It's just as the load is going to increase now. You already have stuff like Shopify, where you can just on click of buttons. Someone doesn't have to be technically very strong to actually build their own site. Shopify, there is Wix, and there are several others that you can just start your business. Two, collaboration tools are freely available. We are using Zoom here. There are others available where you can start talking, communicating, and collaborating. Payment gateways, Instagram is there to actually advertise and market and sell your products online. There are several, and nothing stops you from creating your own on a web app of your own. And it wouldn't take, I would say, a week of a time to actually, if you know mobile development a little bit, and if you learn, a week to 2 weeks, I would say, you can have a very rudimentary app developed, at least on an Android, to actually start an app and start selling or promoting your stuff. It's not that very difficult, believe me. So technology is already there. Technology already exists, actually.
Thank you for that. And Tim, you were going to address Yusuf's question of,
Yeah, I have. Can I?
First, we just have a question from Yusuf.
Sure.
He says that he's not from the tech industry, but he's an enthusiast, and he's recently finished his MBA and looking for a job. What tips can you give him to find his new challenge?
And his new challenge in the IT sector?
I'm guessing yes. Maybe Yusuf could clarify that himself. Yeah. Yusuf, are you with us? I'm not sure if he's listening.
Yeah, I see his name.
Yeah, he just said yes in the high-tech industry. Okay.
Okay. Well, in all businesses, you don't have to be a techie to find a job. I've worked in multiple tech sectors. I worked for the Israeli firm NICE, and I led their America division in HR, and I still am no good.
So what's the question? Sorry.
Is how do you get jobs in the sector? You can
when you don't have the relevant experience, basically.
Well, you have to market your skills to open jobs. But what I always tell students, MBA students, because I work in 5th-year MBA and double master's programs. I'm always telling students, get technical skills, learn basic web development skills. If you say you're going into marketing, learn online tools. The biggest single thing that we can stress is always be learning, work on projects, be able to demonstrate that you're learning new technologies. And you can add those new technologies, the certifications that you get, to your LinkedIn profile. Because when we are looking for people, we want someone who can do this job this year, but maybe in 2 years, they need to be working on another project. And so we go back to that question of being able to present transferable skills and the ability to learn new things.
So to add to that, a couple of other things is that what domain are you in? It's not necessary that you have to be technically very, very strong to be into IT. What domain are you in? Let's say if you know banking or you know accountancy for that matter, if you are a subject matter expert, you could become an SME in IT. You could learn an ERP, let's say SAP, but because you are an HR professional, you know what are the HR processes. So you could get into HR of HR module, you could operate on SAP or any other ERP. Banking, if you have done banking, you understand banking. There are people who develop applications on banking, but IT people don't understand the nitty-gritties of banking. But if you have worked in a bank, so domain is important. What domain are you in? If you're not in IT, are you in banking? Are you in insurances? Or are you in, let's say, e-commerce that you have done? You have handled a store, let's say. You have handled a chain of stores, grocery stores, let's say. So e-commerce would understand that we need a subject matter expert for us to run an online stores, because that person who was manager of in charge of this line of chain of stores needs to come in to explain to us how these things work. So IT does need subject matter experts, they call SMEs, on different domains, because IT people cannot be experts on all the fields. If you have a domain expertise, it's a good area to get in. Business analysts also.
I can answer for also this question from my experience with big companies like Microsoft, Amdocs, etc. There is also, because Yusuf he just finished MBA, they are looking for people like you to be in the business sector of the high tech, to be like account manager or solutions manager, etc. If you have also a good technical background. You don't have to be an engineer, but you can do these kind of jobs also.
Okay. So there's this question has been asked: how can I become senior developer level with self-learning as the enterprise companies need? Is there specific path to follow to apply on these high companies? Senior developer is just a designation. Never go with the designation. Different companies will have different designations. That is not important. What is important is how much do you know? If you were to rate yourself, say in Java in a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being an expert, where do you rate yourself? And if you rate yourself there, and even if you have to enter a company, even if at a lower level, I would suggest go and perform and show to them, because you must understand that now in this half an hour, 1 hour of interview, which you will have with the company, they will not be able to gauge your expertise in that 1.5 hours. But once you are in there, prove it to them, show it to them that yes, you are capable much more than what they have hired you for. Trust me, you will go up. So don't go by designations alone.
Allow me to help answer this question. Hi, this is Muawiya Akash, because sorry, this is exactly my specialization, or you can say it's my specialization. Sure. There are things that you need to work on in order for you to sell yourself. Basically, you need to show 4 things. Only one of them is your technical skills. And I think what Bhupinder said is, okay, this is about my technical skills and what I need to improve on my technical skills, but you need to also to show other stuff. If you're looking to be a senior developer, you need to show your problem-solving skills and critical thinking. These are the two most critical things. There are even more, and I think they touched on this during the presentation, is that those are even more important than language X or language Y or language Z. If you have those skills, then if you don't know something, you will be able to learn it because you have the mindset, you have the ability, and you can do it. And there is also one more thing. In order for you to become a senior or someone who can work at such big companies, is the communication. We sometimes forget and focus, especially when we are juniors, and we think the hard skills are the most important. But to move on and step up from being a junior developer into a senior developer, you need to work on your communication, because you need to show people what you worked on. You need to show them if you've done something great, but you're not able to communicate properly and show the people what you've done, then you've done nothing. I don't know if you know the saying, if a tree falls in the jungle and no one hears it, did it fall? So you need to work on yourself. And I think technical wise or technical skills is one, but there are many more aspects that you need to work on in order for you to be a senior developer or someone who's attractive to bigger companies.
We agree entirely with that, Muawa. How do you say your name, please?
It is Muawiya.
Muawiya, okay. Thanks for that. Excellent 4 points. We are always asked, because we are hired to provide outsourced recruitment. That's something I've done for years. I've been part of hiring thousands of people across sectors, tech people. It's being able to express who you are as a person, as a potential employee, clearly, concisely. I'm regularly coaching our candidates. Don't start speaking for 5 minutes. Speak 60 seconds, take a breath, speak another 60 seconds, breathe and ask if the person interviewing you is satisfied with your answer, if they'd like more. Learn to play tennis with the person interviewing you to demonstrate that you're capable to interact in a team environment.
So I think that's an excellent point that you brought out about communication. If you look at PMI, PMP certification, there are 9 or 10 areas that PMI, PMP covers. Project management, risk management, quality management, communication management is one of them. And out of all these 9 or 10 areas, communication management is the topmost skill, topmost. But that goes into the management level. But yes, it is applicable at the technical level too. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Mazen, I think you had a question earlier as well.
Yeah. At the first of your presentation, you talked about emotions. I think you meant the emotions intelligence, which I personally do believe in that. I used to use emotions intelligence at work when interviewing new people. And when working with the new employees or juniors, but you know, nowadays, coronavirus era, we're trying to translate our experience of emotional intelligence to work remotely, and this is very challenging when you are interviewing someone that you haven't been or you didn't meet ever, and you're trying to run your emotional intelligence algorithm on him. It doesn't work always remotely. And we are working remotely, we are interviewing people remotely, and I think we are missing very good people because of the remote because of the remotely way of interviewing these people or even working with juniors. So I know this is not a technical question. This is more a philosophy question, but but I think this is something that we need to think about on how we can develop our emotional intelligence to work remotely. So if your input is highly appreciated here. It's not a question, I know.
So I think you summarized perfectly what this current situation is. You know, when I was looking at my children and they would, you know, at one point say LOL instead of laughing and send smileys to each other instead of actually smiling, right? And we would look at them and says, you know, what the hell is your world going to? You know, where is the actual interaction, human interaction? And now they're laughing at us. Look, welcome to our world. So, well, welcome to this new world where you send smileys to exhibit your emotions. But yes, it's sad. It's sad that it's true, and it's true, it's sad. But I'm not sure how technology can handle emotions. But you're absolutely right. Until unless you meet face to face with people and are able to interact, you'll not be able to communicate that effectively and empathetically as you would otherwise. It's true. I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I didn't expect. I just wanted to discuss this. I didn't expect for correct. There should. I know it's there could be multiple answers for the same questions. I know that.
Right,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
would just.
and if you permit me, the issues of collaboration right here. I have an Indian colleague. Chris is a French American from New York. I'm a French American from New York. But Palestine and the issues in the Middle East, these have been brewing in my heart for 30 years. On one of my first assignments in Africa, in Mauritania, we hired a Palestinian director of finance. And we have talked and maintained relationship for 30 years. And 3 years ago, I finally had the opportunity to come and visit, to go to his home, to go to Bethlehem, to go to Ramallah. And if you look at our profiles on LinkedIn, we communicate with our hearts. I post stories about my new granddaughter because I get as excited being able to hear her chat from the Bay Area in California because I can't see her. That makes me smile. That gives me reason to live. And what we're looking for as employers are people with passion, because we can all learn skills and there's lots of skilled people. That's one of the issues, is we have too many people with the same skills. But setting yourself apart because of your emotional intelligence. We have entered into this discussion this evening because we have a lot of interest in seeing how could there be more collaboration to support job growth, job creation in Palestine and Israel, in East Jerusalem. We, in the midst of COVID-19, I opened 2 new companies. People think I'm crazy. They say, why do you open companies in France, Tim? France is horrible. It has lots and lots of taxes and high costs. It's because we live here and we want to be active in providing hope and opportunity to young graduates, young engineers, old engineers, because young graduates may have difficulty in the job market. Another opportunity we see in the job market we didn't even mention is older people. In France, if you're over 45 years old, you're considered old, and there's a special category to hire people who are more than 45. And every day we talk to people with excellent CVs, but they're too qualified and lots of companies don't want to hire them anymore. So we're looking at innovative ways
Integrate them into the market.
to provide opportunities across marketplace.
Thank you for that. We have less than 5 minutes. So if anyone would like to ask any remaining questions.
Yes, please. I have a question that I would like to add in the same area.
Go for it.
As a manager, I have a big challenge right now, which is that although my business is booming, it's still booming, alhamdulillah, but my biggest challenge is related to what Mazen said, the emotional part, which is building the work culture. The thing that I'm the most proud of is that I built a very unique culture at my projects for my employees. And what I'm hoping is that I will be able to continue that. Problem is, a huge part of that work culture is based on camaraderie and friendship, and it needs this close personal touch. And you cannot have that during those periods. And the question is, are there ways for me to help build that work culture and instill it in my employees remotely? I thought about having, like, at the beginning, I thought, okay, let's have sessions, like close sessions, and ask everyone what are they doing, what are the conditions at home, how do you live, what's happening with you, etc., etc. I've done that like once or twice, but okay, third time I cannot do that anymore. How many times can I ask someone and he says, oh, I have my desk at my home, at my parents' home, and I'm working from there. Okay, they told me this 2-3 times, but what else can I do in order to build that sense of camaraderie, this sense of belonging? It is hard. It is hard. I know it's a tough question, but this is more about HR, real HR, and less about talent acquisition. But I don't know if you have any ideas.
So I'll see. We are in a phase where everyone is trying to discover new things. Once we pass through this phase, we'll be able to figure out and take experiences from different people as to see how they were able to keep that relationship going and bonding going and camaraderie going within that team. Because as you rightly mentioned, the success of a project depends highly on how tightly knit the team is. Absolutely. And given the situation, everyone is like apart and, you know, emotionally not connected to each other, you know, have their children shouting at the background, you know, all kinds of various other issues going on the background while you're still online. So you do not actually connect. We do not have the answers as of now, to be very honest, but maybe with your experiences, what you try and experiment and try everything, you should be actually sharing that with us, because with our colleagues that we do, it's the same thing. I face the same situation with my colleagues back there in India. We are about 15-20 people there trying to build one particular project, but we cannot. There is no sense of, hey, how are you doing? How's your family? How's everything? Okay, you finished with your pleasantries of 10-15 minutes and come back to the job. So that human touch is missing, absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier, I really do not know how are we going to have that human touch. And that human touch is only possible once you meet them face to face. One of our viewer person has written that he's working on machine learning and using artificial intelligence and deep learning for emotional intelligence, I guess, right? Maybe he could come out in future where robots and these people are able to emote and you're able to emote through technology. So, but right now, yes, we are on the same page. Your experiences, your examples, your suggestions are as good as anyone else's at the moment.
Just as one suggestion, actually, I'm a long-time veteran of managing large teams, distance managing of large teams, and I've always set a schedule of togetherness time. So in order to really bond the emotional intelligence and to get the people all working together, make the team actually feel almost as a family rather than a team, and getting them working together, knowing who's good at what, who's not good at what, etc. You really have to be on site, as you're saying. You know, you have to travel around and you have to be there. I've managed teams of as distant as Amman, Warsaw, and France and south of France here, as well as globally for Vodafone, and in all circumstances, I always set a specific team togetherness time and a team building time, where you have to smell the person sweating. You have to feel the person nervousness or excitability or a desire to work there. So you can't do it on a video like this where you're looking at 35 people on screens so set a schedule of time when you will be together, and then knowing that you can play on those emotional intelligences of each of those people. You have to get to know the people in your teams well enough to be able to trust and work with them when they're at a distance.
Thanks, guys. I do have some suggestions and things that I worked on. Maybe we can share those in a later discussion.
Sure.
Thank you, Muawiyah. Iyad, would you like to add something?
We missed in the introduction to introduce Chris or to ask Chris to say a few words, but Chris, since you spoke a bit, it would be good just to say a few words about yourself, if possible, before we closing this session. We're about to close, so we're in the last 30 seconds.
Asking me to say a few words is a dangerous thing, actually, but I'll try. I'm 30 years plus working for very large companies such as Oracle, Vodafone, Swift. Family person, just like Tim and Bhupinder. 30 years here in France after having been raised in New York. Culturally speaking, I feel more like a European than an American. And again, back to that team working. I've always been working out of France, but with teams in the UK, as far as Jordan and even in Asia Pac and the US. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. That's great, inspiring. Anyway, thank you, everybody. And I would like to, on behalf of the Jerusalem High Tech Forum and everybody participating in tonight's session, I would like to thank Accendo Group, Bhupinder and Tim and Chris for presenting the comprehensive view, for highlighting the key jobs in tech sector, trends, challenges, and opportunities. I think for me personally, it's very useful indeed. And I think it is a great opportunity for us, not only as Jerusalem High Tech Forum, to connect with your platform. And I see there are huge opportunities to work together in the future. Thank you, everybody. Dima, over to you. Thank you.
Dima, you are mute.
No worries.
So Dima, we are closing. I don't know if you want to close this final session already.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone again for coming. This was truly an enriching meeting. Apparently there is no more borders, and that's just wonderful. You don't need to take a flight to meet people anymore. Please look forward to our future tech talks. They will be definitely as awesome as this one. And don't hesitate to reach out to any of our, as they say, forum members. And this was truly a pleasure to meet our wonderful speakers tonight. And we'll see you guys very soon, inshallah.
See you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.